At 5:17 local time in the Persian Gulf, the radar tone changes. Inside the Combat Information Center, the steady pattern of tracking routine surface traffic snaps into something far more urgent. A fast, narrow return appears low and moving at high speed. New contact bearing 087. Then another tone. Then another. In less than 3 seconds, the tactical display fills with 3 solid tracks racing just above the water. The watch supervisor reacts immediately. Vampires inbound. No one asks where they came from. The data already tells the story. Range, 42 nautical miles. Speed, high subsonic. Profile, sea skimming. On the carrier's flight deck, crew members stop in place as the 1MC blares overhead. General quarters! General quarters! All hands man your battle stations. In under 10 seconds, the carrier shifts from routine patrol to full combat posture. Condition 3 becomes Condition 1. Across the entire strike group, the change is instant. An Aegis cruiser 5 miles off the carrier's port quarter locks the contacts with SPY-1 radar. The destroyer screening starboard pushes its combat system to auto-engage readiness. Data links surge to full bandwidth. Every ship now sees the same picture. 3 inbound becomes 5, then 7. The electronic warfare officer calls out, "Coastal fire control radar spike detected, bearing 110, intermittent sweep." No speculation, no wasted words. The tracks tighten into formation, flying under 15 feet above sea level, designed to stay below the radar horizon for as long as possible. High above the carrier, an E-2D Hawkeye widens its orbit. Its rotating radar dome cuts through the morning sky, feeding a composite picture down to every ship below. From 25,000 feet, it sees what sea-level sensors cannot. The Hawkeye operator counts them. Multiple fast movers confirmed. 12 total contacts. 12. This is not a test run, not a warning. It is a saturation attack. On the carrier's bridge, the captain stands motionless, eyes fixed on the repeater display. His voice remains calm. Engage outer layer. Do not wait for terminal phase. Below deck, missile crews release safety interlocks on the vertical launch system. Hydraulic pressure rises. Cell hatches are live. Then a new tone cuts through the CIC. Higher pitch, different trajectory. A fresh track climbs sharply from the coastline, arcing upward. Ballistic profile detected. High altitude ascent. For half a second, the room goes still. A cruise missile strike is dangerous. A ballistic missile changes everything. The tactical display redraws in real time. The ballistic track climbs beyond 100,000 feet before curving toward the center of the strike group. Impact prediction. Carrier strike group, center mass. Time to terminal phase, under 2 minutes. Meanwhile, the first cruise missiles slip below radar coverage, hugging the surface so closely that spray kicks up beneath them as they carve thin white lines across the Gulf. Range, 28 nautical miles. The cruiser's Aegis system begins assigning interceptors automatically. Firing solutions are generated in milliseconds. The carrier holds course. No evasive turn yet. Speed steady. Panic burns time. Discipline preserves it. Time to first intercept, the tactical action officer announces, clipped and exact. 68 seconds. On the destroyer's forward deck, vertical launch hatches snap open one after another. Steel plates fold back into the dawn light. The missiles inside are already active. In CIC, the countdown keeps falling. 50 seconds. The inbound track spreads slightly, programmed to make targeting harder. One drops even lower, almost disappearing into sea clutter. 38 seconds. The ballistic track reaches apogee. Across the strike group, radar arrays tighten their locks. Electronic countermeasures pulse outward, trying to distort guidance signals. 25 seconds. Then the order comes. Fire! The first SM-6 erupts from its cell in a column of flame, climbing hard before snapping toward its assigned target. A second follows a heartbeat later, then a third. From the carrier's deck, sailors watch white contrails tear across the sky. Inside CIC, no one celebrates. No one says anything beyond what is necessary. The inbound missiles are still coming. The ballistic track begins its descent. The time to impact window shrinks. And for the next 60 seconds, the entire strike group waits to see whose calculations were better. The first intercept happens beyond the horizon. On the SPY-1 display, track 441 flashes once, then disappears. Splash 1. No emotion, just confirmation. 40 nautical miles out, the SM-6 meets the lead cruise missile at a closing speed above Mach 5. The detonation is invisible from the carrier, but fragments scatter into the Gulf in a widening arc. 2 seconds later, another track vanishes. Splash 2. The Aegis system does not pause. It reassigns, recalculates, redirects to the next threats. But the incoming formation splits. 4 missiles stay on course toward the carrier's bow. 3 brake hard to starboard, turning toward the outer destroyer screen. two drop even lower, slipping into the radar shadow created by sea curvature and surface clutter. This was planned. Far above, the ballistic track descends at terminal velocity. Ballistic re-entry confirmed, the cruiser reports. SM-3 solution ready. On the edge of the formation, a different launch cell opens. The SM-3 departs almost silently. Compared with the violent departure of the SM-6, it climbs clean and steep, vanishing into the thin blue sky. Below, the cruise missiles close to 22 nautical miles. Inside the carrier's CIC, the tactical action officer leans over the console. Recommend Ripple ESSM. Engage low flyers from the port destroyer. Evolved Sea Sparrow missiles launch in pairs, smaller and quicker off the rail, built for exactly this layer of the fight. At 15 nautical miles, one cruise missile attempts a last-second maneuver. Its guidance system hunts and recalculates. It makes no difference. An ESSM reaches it mid-adjustment. A brief orange bloom flares at the horizon. Splash 3. Another sea skimmer drops even lower, almost brushing the surface. Spray trails behind it in a narrow white wake. Range, 12 nautical miles. The outer defensive ring has thinned the salvo, but it has not stopped it. One missile survives the ESSM layer. It keeps coming. Range, 9 nautical miles. Inside CIC, voices sharpen. Not louder, just tighter. Track 452 still inbound. Speed steady. Altitude minimal. On the carrier's island, the forward Phalanx close-in weapon system rotates toward bearing 089. Its radar locks automatically. At 5 nautical miles, the missile rises slightly to clear a small swell. That tiny rise is enough. CIWS free. The Phalanx opens up. The sound is not like individual gunfire. It is a continuous mechanical scream. 75 rounds per second build a dense wall of tungsten between the ship and the incoming weapon. The missile shudders under the impact. Guidance fails. It breaks apart less than 2 nautical miles from the hull. Fragments hammer the water in a violent spray. Kill confirmed. Still no celebration. Not yet. 2 more tracks remain. One angles toward the starboard destroyer. Another unexpectedly shifts course, turning not toward the carrier, but toward the cruiser, providing ballistic defense. Range, 7 nautical miles. The destroyer launches another ESSM pair. One misses by inches as the cruise missile executes a programmed weave. The second connects. Splash 4. The final cruise missile is now inside 4 nautical miles of the cruiser. Its radar seeker goes fully active. Inside CIC, the electronic warfare officer transmits a focused jamming burst. Deception signals flood the missile's receiver, feeding it false targets, ghost ships offset from the real hull. For half a second, the inbound track hesitates on the display. Then it corrects. Too late. The cruiser's aft phalanx opens fire. The stream of rounds meets the missile less than 1.2 nautical miles from the ship. The explosion is visible from the carrier's deck. Low, violent, and close. Splash 5. A brittle silence follows. Then the ballistic intercept report comes in. Exo-atmospheric intercept successful. High above and far beyond visible range, the SM-3 has collided with the descending ballistic missile. The threat never reaches terminal guidance. On the shared tactical display, every inbound track is gone. But the calm lasts only seconds. A sensor operator leans forward, staring at the radar edge. New launch detected. Bearing 110. Multiple. The coastline lights up again with thermal signatures. This was not a single volley. It is a sustained strike. And the next wave is already in the air. The radar picture does not clear. It multiplies. Bearing 110 brightens again as fresh contacts lift off from the Iranian coastline. Smaller returns this time. Slower. Dozens of them. Drone swarm detected. Multiple low RCS targets. At the same moment, surface search radar picks up 3 fast attack craft accelerating out of a coastal inlet. Speed, 35 knots and climbing. Heading, direct intercept. This is no longer just a missile attack. It is layered pressure, air and surface saturation at once. Inside the carrier's combat information center, the display splits into sectors. Air defense officers manage the incoming drones. Surface warfare tracks the fast boats. Electronic warfare scans for command uplinks. Above the strike group, 2 FA-18 Super Hornets punch through 10,000 feet, shifting from defensive posture to offensive screen. Harpoons hang beneath their wings. Behind them, EA-18G Growlers activate their jamming pods. The spectrum fills with noise. The first wave of drones drops below 200 feet. They are not especially fast, but they are numerous. Small delta wing shapes riding GPS coordinates toward the formation. The cruiser fires another pair of ESSMs. 2 drones vanish, 10 remain. The destroyer shifts to rolling airframe missiles, short range, heat-seeking. 3 more drones detonate in midair. Still, they keep coming. Then, in the middle of the swarm, one radar return flickers strangely and disappears. Not from interception, not from impact. It simply collapses. Track 671 lost, a sensor operator says. No explosion signature. Another drone wobbles on screen. Its course drifts. It begins a slow spiral toward the sea, then a third does the same. Inside CIC, the electronic warfare officer leans closer to the console. We're not hitting those. He checks the spectrum analyzer. Their command link just dropped. On the coastline, Iranian radar emissions spike, then begin to fluctuate. Signal strength dips unexpectedly. The Growlers widen their jamming pattern. A classified electronic warfare package aboard the cruiser comes online. Low power, directional, precise. The next drone's guidance signal flickers. Its telemetry collapses mid-flight. It slams into the water without detonating. Across the radar screen, 3 more drones drift off course as if suddenly blind. Loss of guidance confirmed, the officer says quietly. No missile impact, no explosion, just silence where a strike should have happened. The fast attack craft close to 18 nautical miles. The Hornets angle downward and lock them visually. Laser designation paints the lead vessel's bow. The boats continue forward, but their radar sweeps weaken. On the carrier, technicians confirm something unexpected. The electronic countermeasure is not merely jamming signals. It is severing the data handshake between coastal radar, drone uplinks, and missile mid-course correction. Guidance systems are going dark in flight. Inside CIC, one final cruise missile from the second wave survives the outer intercept attempts. Range 14 nautical miles. It drops aggressively, then hesitates. Its radar seeker sweeps wide, then nothing. The track freezes for half a second before nosing into the Gulf. No intercept flash, no debris plume, just splash. The electronic warfare officer exhales once. Guidance collapse confirmed. For the first time since 0517, the inbound threat count begins dropping faster than interceptors are being fired. Not because the strike group destroyed every incoming weapon, but because those weapons were suddenly flying blind. Along the Iranian coastline, radar signatures begin flickering with erratic instability. Fire control locks appear, vanish, then reappear for only a moment. Inside the carrier's Combat Information Center, analysts watch the anomaly unfold live. This system was never intended for such open use. It was built for contingency, for the moment when every other layer had already been tested. And now it is active. Missiles and drones are failing in mid-flight, not because they were physically struck, but because they were cut off electronically. The Hornet's close to within 12 nautical miles of the fast attack craft. The lead Iranian vessel eases off slightly, its wake shortening behind it. On radar, its targeting beam starts to falter. Another drone drops into the sea before ever reaching its final approach. Inside CIC, a new phrase moves quietly from one console to another. Network disruption effect expanding. The ballistic arc from the second launch attempt never fully stabilizes. Its guidance system struggles to recover its mid-course correction. Then, on the display, the track begins to break apart. High above the Gulf, the warhead tumbles off course and splashes far wide of the carrier group. For a brief moment, the entire battle space goes still. No inbound locks, no radar spikes, no drone vectors. Only the distant growl of jet engines overhead and the low hum of missile cells cooling after launch. The Iranian fast attack craft are now 15 nautical miles away, and they are slowing. No one has fired on them yet. But something much more unsettling has already happened. Their weapons did not simply malfunction. Their network failed, and the strike group remains fully intact. Inside CIC, the captain finally speaks. Maintain posture. Do not pursue. Because the impossible has already happened. The attack did not break against steel. It broke against silence. The sky belongs to the strike group now. At 15 nautical miles, the Iranian fast attack craft begins spreading laterally. A classic swarm move designed to force multiple targeting decisions and complicate firing solutions. The Hornets are already ahead of them. Surface contacts locked, Viper 1 reports. Laser designation active. No warning shot, no dramatic exchange, just geometry and timing. At 12 nautical miles, the lead FA-18 releases a single AGM-84 harpoon. The missile drops clean, ignites, and levels out just above the surface. Sea skimming. Quiet until the final seconds. The Iranian boat attempts a hard starboard turn. Too late. The harpoon strikes just aft of the bridge. A flash. A plume. Propulsion is gone instantly. The vessel is left dead in the water, disabled but still afloat. The second fast attack craft slows sharply. It is no longer advancing. It is reassessing. Overhead, the Growlers widen the electronic umbrella. Iranian surface search radar flickers again, struggling to maintain a clean track on the American aircraft. Back inside the carrier's CIC, the drone picture continues to thin. Remaining UAVs drifting, an operator confirms. Multiple uncontrolled descents. One drone attempts to reacquire navigation. It banks sharply toward the carrier's outer screen. The destroyer does not fire. Instead, the Growler shifts frequency. The drone's telemetry collapses. It spirals down and hits the water harmlessly half a mile short of the formation. The final operational cruise missile launcher on the coastline attempts one more brief emission spike. Aegis catches it immediately. Before anything can even leave the rail, a Tomahawk target solution is generated aboard the cruiser. The captain does not approve the strike, not yet, because the mission was defense and defense has already worked. Then another unexpected return appears. High-altitude track, bearing 105, possible ballistic reattempt. One last try. Inside CIC, there is no hesitation. SM-3 ready. The interceptor launches in a clean vertical plume, punching upward through the atmosphere while shipboard radar and overhead sensors stream guidance data into the system. At exo-atmospheric altitude, it meets the incoming warhead in a pure kinetic collision. No explosive charge, just precision and physics. From the Gulf below, the flash is faint, barely visible in the growing morning light. Intercept confirmed. That is the second ballistic intercept of the morning. Along the Iranian coastline, radar emissions dim again, falling close to zero. Surface contacts turn away and begin retreating toward territorial waters. In the cockpit of Viper 1, the lead pilot watches the disabled patrol boat drifting with a slight list, smoke trailing behind it. Second vessel turning cold, he reports. No pursuit order follows. The Hornets hold position at 20,000 feet, circling overhead, visible and dominant. On the carrier deck, the mood shifts from immediate crisis to measured control. Ordnance crews reload rails. Fuel lines remain connected. Flight operations do not stand down, because control is not something you announce. It is something you keep. The Growlers reduce jamming power one step at a time, watching closely for any return of hostile signals. Nothing. On radar, the Iranian coastline is quiet. Too quiet. Inside CIC, the tactical picture is clean. No inbound threats. No active fire control locks, no drone telemetry. The strike group remains intact. Zero hull damage, zero casualties. The captain studies the display one last time before giving the next order. Resume transit. Maintain elevated posture. The carrier never changed course. It never turned away. And now it continues through the Gulf as if nothing happened. Behind it, the disabled fast attack craft drift under tow from smaller Iranian vessels, rushing out to recover them. No American warship enters coastal waters. No retaliatory barrage follows. But the message is unmistakable. Every missile failed. Every drone lost its sight. Every radar link collapsed. And the carrier never blinked. Above the formation, two additional Hornets replace the first pair, ensuring continuous coverage. The E-2D Hawkeye remains on station. Destroyers adjust spacing, tightening the defensive ring without breaking formation. Discipline takes over where adrenaline leaves off. Procedure replaces urgency. Inside CIC, a young operations specialist stares at the replay feed, watching the moment those drone tracks simply vanished. He says nothing, but everyone in the room understands what they are looking at. Missiles can be intercepted, boats can be disabled. But this morning was something else. It was not just layered defense, it was systemic denial. The strike group did not merely survive a saturation attack, it dismantled the architecture behind it, and that is far more unsettling than any wreckage left on the water. As the sun climbs higher over the Persian Gulf, the carrier continues along its plotted course. Unscarred, unturned, unshaken. The Iranian coastline fades slightly into the morning haze. No more radar spikes, no more launch signatures, only open water and silence. By 6:42 local time, the Gulf looks calm again. No contrails, no radar surges, no visible debris burning on the horizon. But nothing about the previous 90 minutes was routine. Inside the Combat Information Center, the tactical display is clean. Every inbound track has been archived. Every radar emission has been logged. Every failed guidance signal has been time-stamped down to the millisecond. The strike group remains at full readiness, not because another launch is expected, but because readiness itself is now part of the message. On the flight deck, Super Hornets cycle through refuel and rearm. Growlers power down their jamming pods, but stay on alert. One E-2D Hawkeye rotates out and is replaced seamlessly by another airborne early warning aircraft. No celebration, no speeches, just a professional reset. The captain stands on the bridge, watching the formation hold its spacing. Destroyers on the screen edges, cruiser slightly offset for ballistic defense, subsurface assets unseen but present. He gives one instruction: hold posture, no pursuit. The Iranian fast attack craft are now well inside territorial waters. One is being towed. The others have shut down radar completely. They are no longer charging forward. They are watching. and that is enough. Because what happened this morning was not a lucky defensive sequence, it was controlled power. Iran launched first, 12 cruise missiles, 2 ballistic attempts, a coordinated drone swarm, surface attack craft pushing for close contact. They attempted saturation. The carrier strike group answered with discipline. Outer layer intercepts, mid-layer missile defense, terminal phalanx engagement, air dominance overhead, electronic warfare at scale. But the decisive moment was not physical, it was digital. Missiles lost guidance in mid-flight. Drones spiraled away without impact. Coastal fire control radar collapsed under pressure it could not resist. The most unsettling outcome was not a damaged carrier. It was a strike group that neutralized the attack structure without expanding the fight into open war. No cruise missiles were fired inland. No retaliatory barrage flattened coastal infrastructure. No headlines announced a new campaign. The carrier did not need to escalate. It demonstrated. Inside CIC, analysts replay the engagement again and again. They study the exact second the inbound cruise missile hesitated, its seeker sweeping wide before dropping blind into the Gulf. They review the ballistic intercept telemetry. They catalog how the network disruption spread through the hostile system. Every second becomes data, and data becomes deterrence. Across the Gulf, Iranian radar remains silent. Not destroyed, just cautious. Because now they know something they did not know before. Their missiles can be tracked, their drones can be blinded, their networks can be fractured, and the carrier can remain standing through all of it. The strike group continues its transit at steady speed. No deviation, no symbolic turn, just forward movement. The message is subtle but unmistakable. We will not escalate recklessly, but we will not be touched. In Washington, there will be no dramatic address. In Tehran, there will be internal reviews. In the Gulf, shipping lanes reopened beneath the same steel umbrella that held firm at 517. Above the carrier, a fresh pair of Hornets circles in quiet arcs. Beneath the surface, submarines reposition in silence. Destroyers continue scanning the horizon without interruption. Nothing appears different. Everything is different. A threshold was tested, and it failed. Iran fired first. The carrier never flinched. The strike group never broke formation. And the unthinkable was not destruction. It was dominance without the need for a second strike. The Gulf remains tense. It always does. But this morning drew a line that did not require smoke or fire to be understood. Next time they may launch again. Next time they may change tactics. The only question is whether they will recognize what is happening before their screens go dark again. Out here, steel matters, training matters. But control matters more, and this morning, control won.